Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. Nathan Lane, Danny Burstein, and Zoe Wanamaker are returning to Broadway in Char White's new play, Pictures from Home, which is based on the photo memoirs of groundbreaking photographer Larry Sultan. Under the direction of Bartlett Sher, it begins performances on January 10th at Studio 54, and I caught up with all of them during a break in rehearsal.
I'm so happy to be here. Bart and I have done 5 Broadway shows together. This is our 6th, I believe. And Char White and I did a play called The Snow Geese on Broadway about 6 or 7 years ago with Mary Louise Parker. And I had seen his play called The Other Place with Laurie Metcalf on Broadway, and I thought that was so outrageously good, and I just knew I wanted to work with them both again. And this play is completely different, which is something that I just love to do. I turned down a lot of work because, it's very similar to something that I did in the past. This has nothing to do with anything I've ever done in the past, and it's completely different. And that's sort of why I'm an artist and why I point myself in a certain direction, just to challenge myself and to scare the hell out of myself. And I love doing it.
Yeah, it's been, for me, by the time we get on stage, it will have been 4 years since I've done a play or anything on stage. Bart, I just have admired from afar, and I can't say enough good things about him. He's so much fun, and he's so smart, and so that's been joyous. Danny, I've known a long time, and again, also loved from afar, and he's, aside from being a great guy, he's a brilliant actor and can do anything. And so I'm thrilled that we're finally getting to work together on something. And Zoe is someone, again, I've just loved when I've seen her. And she's this very accomplished, consummate actress who every time she's come here, she's gotten a Tony nomination for her work. And she's utterly delightful and charming and fun, and so it's just the three of us. So it's very it's a family, very family atmosphere, and great fun to work on. We've only really just started. We just started sort of in the middle of last week. So, but it's been a wonderful time in the rehearsal room.
I mean, everybody said this is a memory play, but at the same time, it's about family. It's about ourselves. And it's also about art. I think it's about art because, what takes a person 10 years to create something and to have a tenacity of knowing, not knowing, but knowing why he wants to do this. And that's what I found interesting. It's about childhood, it's about our childhood, it's about us. It's about being alive. And I just thought it was I hadn't seen the photos, I didn't know the photography at all. So it was just an atmosphere about the play. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot to do with time. How do we perceive this crazy thing we're in the middle of? Our families, our work, how it changes, how we age, how we see things, and what the value is in making art to represent who we are in our time. And I think audiences will leave comforted by it. Comforted by the struggle, comforted by the humor, and comforted by the enormous pleasure they have in seeing people struggle with exactly the same things they do, but maybe add a little bit to them.
I think this is a play about all of us. I think especially post-pandemic, this is a play about what I love so much about this relationship is that between Larry and his parents, Gene and Irv, is that as much as they were at odds with one another, they stuck together. I mean, it is about intimacy and love and family, and it's also a story of ultimately mortality, which is very moving now, I think.
To be honest, the first thing that I was struck by was Larry's writing, that he's such a terrific writer, and that in particular the opening couple of pages where he's talking about it's late at night and his parents are asleep, and and he talks about the house, and you thought, oh, this guy can really write. And then he sort of also writes through the pictures. He's telling you this story. And I was not familiar with him at all before this play. But he was this celebrated photographer. He was known as the master of color photography, and did a lot of interesting offbeat projects. He did a whole series of pictures on porn sets in the San Fernando Valley. Hilarious, just people half naked, smoking cigarettes, waiting for their scene. And then this one night in his parents' garage, he found all these old home movies and started to look at them. The father had taken them when they had just moved to California from Brooklyn back in the 40s. And he sort of thought, what's behind these images, this idyllic family, this so-called idyllic family? And it was the Reagan era, so family values were being politicized, and he wanted to kind of deconstruct all this. And then he also started taking pictures of his parents and making stills from the home movies and writing and interviewing them about their lives. And he wasn't quite sure what it was going to be. And it went on for almost a decade, which is unbelievable that they allowed it for that long. It was only the love for their son that allowed them to put up with this kind of intrusive, invasive process. And so that's that. When Char White, he was in Los Angeles and saw an exhibit of these photos and a quote from the book, he thought, what's behind that? How did that happen? And that's what inspired the play. So it ultimately is about parents and mortality, something we all have to come to terms with. And it's very, very funny because of that, and very moving.